So this evening we're continuing our journey through chapters 7, 8 and 9 of Luke's Gospel. And the title of this series, which we've been working through, is Who is Jesus? Last week Clive looked at the calming of the storm and laying out the choice which we have as to whether to trust or to panic. And next week Alistair will be teaching on the passage about the dead girl and a sick woman, exploring the subject of contrasting faith. This Sunday, as Liz read to us earlier, we're looking at the healing of a demon-possessed man in Luke chapter 8. 3 of the Gospels have a record of this event, and the Gospel in Mark is the longest and most detailed recollection, and the version in Matthew is the shortest, so as a happy medium, we're looking at the account in Luke as we continue this series on Luke's Gospel. I wonder if any of you have seen those adverts that you see around. They've been around for a long time now, on television mainly, but you see them in newspapers and magazines as well. Adverts showing things before and after. So their wonderful product that they're trying to sell you, whatever it is, they show you a before picture and an after picture. The most common ones you probably think of is washing powder or dishwasher tablets, or these days you get weight loss regimes and cosmetics, what people look like before and what they look like after. I wonder if any of you remember the old Daz Doorstep Challenge adverts. Any of you? Yeah, Danny Baker and Shane Ritchie, and we're just going to watch a couple now, just for a bit of nostalgia.
Is your big box powder fading your colours? Now there's totally new Daz colour to help keep colours brighter for longer.
I've used my powder for years, the colour's fine.
Compare it to new Daz colour.
Oh, I don't know. I'll tell you now, it's certainly opened my eyes. Absolutely incredible. The colours. These are some of Sam's shorts. I've washed those quite a bit since I've had this new Daz colour. And the colours obviously come out exceptionally well. The growing colour and everything. I just can't believe it. These were the shorts I bought last year. You can obviously see how they faded in the elastic. I've always used that powder that my mum used. I never thought to change. I can't believe I've been so blind for so long.
Let's test your loyalty here then. Here's 2 big packs of your old powder for your one Daz.
No, take this one.
You're not going to upset your mum, you know?
I am. Well, mind you, I'll be able to convert her to start using Daz colour, right? No.
New Daz colour. See the difference and you won't swap.
It's easy to make spots disappear first time on TV, but can you do it at home? That's the on-the-spot challenge for new Daz Ultra. Whoa! This is the Daz on-the-spot challenge.
Shame.
Does your powder get your white spotless first time?
Not all the time, no.
Well, let's do one wash with this powder right now.
Go on then.
Is that right with you?
Yeah.
You've got a challenge then?
This is my little lens.
So what problem have you got on there?
Barbecue sauce.
Do you think it will get out?
You're more confident than what I am.
Load up that machine then, Trace. Right, put the kettle on, time for a cup of tea. Jake, is this the big moment then? Right, let's have a look at that T-shirt. What do you reckon?
It ain't done that bad, you know.
Really?
No, it's done good.
Hey, it's all coming out.
I honestly didn't think that it would. I'm impressed with that.
Proud of that myself.
I think it's brilliant. I really do.
Why don't you challenge new Daz Ultra and see if you can get more of your whites spotlessly white first time? Oh, and it's still at the right price.
Hasn't advertising come a long way? So they used to knock on people's doors with a camera crew and ask to see their whites, and those that were prepared to show off their whites were then challenged to use Daz, and then produce what a difference it had made. Clever advertising, really, and a model of advertising that's still around today, but as society gets harder and harder to please, we see the advertising agencies having to come up with new and clever ways. But if a certain thing's going to do something for you better than what you're already using, you're going to switch, aren't you? If this product makes your whites whiter, then you're going to switch to this product, aren't you? And dishwashers and all these things are the same. And this passage that we're looking at really this evening is a before and after tale, as many people's encounters with Jesus seem to be. Jesus encounters this crazy naked man, and in the end he was completely transformed. Imagine being tasked with creating an advertising campaign to sell Jesus. You've got this man here that was transformed. You've got the lame man, he was lame, And then he was a fit and able man running around. You've got a blind man that could then see. The list could go on, couldn't it? And I'm sure that many of us could add ourselves to that list as well. One of the points that Stuart shared with us a few weeks ago at a Tuesday evening Bible study when we were looking at how to share our faith was the need to talk about who we were and now who we are. What we were like, what we are like now. They wouldn't have sold many boxes of Daz, would they, if the clothes had come out dirtier or no difference at all. As Jesus transforms us and as Jesus transforms the demon-possessed man in this passage, he then instructs him, we see, to tell how much God has done for you. Go and show the people the before and the after. Show them the difference which meeting Jesus has made to you. Show them how it's changed you. And this command to tell others about him may not be very successful if we remain what we were, our sinful, worldly selves. We cannot promote Jesus by being the people that we were. Are we an advert for the transformation which is possible through Jesus Christ? Going back into our passage this evening, it's important to note that this comes straight after the storm on the lake, which Clive spoke about last week. Jesus knew that he had to go to the other side of the lake. We read in that passage before, verse 22, let's go over to the other side of the lake. He knew that the Lord had a job for him to do over there, a life for him to change, so he upped and he went. Many believe that the demons knew that Jesus was coming. We read that many demons had gone into this man. The man calls himself Legion, representative perhaps of a Roman legion which comprised of 6,000 soldiers. After Jesus had overcome the devil during his temptation in the desert, the demons knew that they were going to have a fight on their hands, didn't they? They had an idea of what they were going to be up against. So they turned up in great number in an attempt to try and control this man and overcome the power of Jesus. Some theologians have suggested that the devil was the one that sent the storm in this passage that Clive looked at last week. The demons knew Jesus was coming to heal this man, so that they sent the storm. Out of nowhere, a squall came down on the lake. The boat was being swamped. They were in great danger. An attempt, perhaps, to put Jesus off, to send him off in another direction. But as the storm was calmed by Jesus' power, so they arrived. When Jesus stepped ashore, he was met by a demon-possessed man from the town. This was a man that was suffering from manic depression, psychosis, demonic possession. People in those times had found no better treatment for this illness than to chain them down by their hands and their feet. It's perhaps an illness that they didn't really understand, and maybe one that we don't truly recognise today either. But this wasn't any normal situation, was it? Not that you would probably class any demonic possession as normal, but on this occasion there was not one, but up to 6,000 demons that had taken control of this man. They'd taken over this man, they'd driven him out of his home. He was roaming around in the wilderness, sleeping in tombs, not wearing any clothes, confined to solitude. The demons would have known that Jesus was coming. And in an instant, we read in the passage, Jesus' power overcame the stronghold which the evil had on this man. We read in verse 28, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God?" In this passage here, there's no account of any resistance which the demons, they didn't put up a fight. We read later, and we'll have a look at that in a minute, that they did plead with Jesus, but they didn't fight. There was no resistance. There was just submission to the power of Jesus as the man cried out and fell at Jesus' feet. Interesting that Clive said about those that gave their lives last night kneeling down at the cross. And then this evening in our passage it says that the man fell at the feet of Jesus. The man was being released. The demons were defenceless against the almighty power of the Lord. These were demons that had manifested themselves in this man physically, mentally. They'd tortured him. They'd literally driven him mad. He'd lost everything he had. He'd been driven out of his home, away from his family and friends, condemned to a life alone, with nothing but the demons which had taken over his life. When we look at a passage like this, we can't help but just stop and ask ourselves, what are our demons? Many of us have them, don't we? They might not make us homeless or cause us to run around naked. We're not physically anyway, but how about spiritually? Was this a sinful man? Was he wrapped up in something that he shouldn't have been? We don't know, do we? But all we can do as we seek to see how this is applicable to our lives is draw comparisons with the evil which we face each day. What is it that tortures us? What is it that drives us mad or keeps us up at night? What is it that's separating us from the Lord's blessings? What is it that's controlling us? During the prayer meeting yesterday morning, those of you that were there would have heard Joy's vision that she had during the prayer of a river that was full of rubbish, which represented all the rubbish in our lives, preventing Jesus from flowing through it properly. The river will still flow because of the power that it has, but it just makes it harder, doesn't it? Jesus knows what these demons are in our lives, and they know him. The evil we allow to creep into our lives is fully aware of the division that it's causing in our life and in our relationship with the Lord. He knows the damage he's doing, the fight he's causing, the pain, the disillusionment. But these demons know too the power which our Saviour has to drive them out, to rid our lives and our bodies of their power and the stronghold they can obtain, to condemn them, to drive them into the abyss. Perhaps there's times in our lives when we need to cry out and fall at his feet. Because Jesus has the power, and Jesus will use the power to drive these demons out of our lives if we abandon ourselves to him, if we open our hearts and our minds to be cleansed and to see the enemy defeated. How do we confront the demons in our lives, in the society around us? Do we believe that they're there? Do we recognise that this is what they are? Jesus and Paul believed, and the demons believed in Jesus. Perhaps we don't believe. Perhaps we live in denial or a lack of understanding. Perhaps we flippantly use the phrase, I'm sure you've heard it, what possessed you, when someone does something stupid or out of character. I wonder what possessed the man to drive that van into those Muslims last week. I wonder what possessed those 3 men running around London Bridge. I wonder what possesses people to kill, to harm, to cheat, to steal, to lie. Just this week, one of our mums at Cafe Connect was telling us that her father-in-law had been attacked by a young person in Bognor the day before. What possessed that boy to do something to an old gentleman? I can tell you one person who doesn't possess people to do things like that, and that's my God. My God, who's fighting an increasing desire and submission to evil in our society, in our world today. How did we ever come to a place where people would rather be filled with evil, would rather be controlled by evil, than to live lives of love, of peace, of strength and of power given to us and through us by the Saviour of the world, Jesus Christ? I saw a video this week on Facebook and really had to resist the urge to get into an argument about it, but it was a video that had been on TV, probably in America I think, of what they were calling this cult, this community of Christians that lived together, that taught their children, that really lived out the Christian faith. And you've got everyone saying, oh, they're teaching their children wrong things, they're brainwashing their children, they shouldn't be doing this. And I was just thinking, These people, all they're doing is loving each other, and we want to ruin that because we think that they should be more like us. We think they should go around hating each other as well. How did we get into a society which is controlled by evil? Man's selfish desire is to live in evil, possessed by whatever is fulfilling him in that particular week, forgetting about what impact it has on others, forgetting about what impact it has on themselves, forgetting about the perfect love which is offered to us, alongside the power to effortlessly rid our lives of the demons we've allowed in. The presence of Jesus, the power of Jesus, the surrender of the man. And Jesus commanded the evil spirit to come out of the man. As we've already discussed, there was no fight or resistance from the demons which had gone into him, but as we read in verse 31, they begged him repeatedly not to order them to go into the abyss. They knew the battle was lost. They recognised the power that the Lord had over them, and all they could do was try and appeal to Jesus' compassionate side and try and make their demise a little less horrendous. It's interesting when you consider this place that we call the abyss, something we don't tend to talk about very much, but the dictionary defines the abyss as a bottomless pit. Some theologians share that picture too. It's a sign of the underworld, the deepest ocean floor, or hell. A few years ago we visited Crete, one of the Greek islands, and specifically a town known as Agnik by the locals. It's a fantastic, it's a beautiful place. I highly recommend it. But as we were enjoying an ice cream outside a local restaurant, we overlooked a small lake, and we learnt while we were there that the locals call it the bottomless lake. And a debate ensued among some family members as to whether it was actually bottomless or not. But we won't go into that now. But this recognition in Scripture of there being this place, this pit, this place that's impossible to get out of, this place which is a sign of God's love and God's grace right back in the beginning. He knew that we were going to be susceptible to these demons, and he created a place where he could banish them, where he could cast them out. The abyss is mentioned a few times in the New Testament, and we get a glimpse into what it's like in Revelation chapter 9. The fifth angel sounded his trumpet, and I saw a star that had fallen from the sky to the earth. The star was given the key to the shaft of the abyss. When he opened the abyss, smoke rose from it like the smoke from a gigantic furnace. The sun and sky were darkened by the smoke from the abyss. The sun and the sky were darkened by the smoke from the abyss. Out of the smoke, locusts came down upon the earth and were given power like that of scorpions of the earth. They were told not to harm the grass of the earth or any plant or tree, but only those people who did not have the seal of God on their foreheads. They were not given power to kill them, but only to torture them for 5 months, and the agony they suffered was like that of the sting of a scorpion when it strikes a man. During those days, men will seek death, but will not find it. They will long to die, but death will elude them. It goes on, and there's other passages in the New Testament that talk about the abyss, but it's a place of demons, it's a place of Satan, the beast, it's a prison where demons and evil spirits are banished, waiting for God's final judgment. We read that when they're in the abyss, they're under God's control. And we read in Revelation chapter 20 that Satan will be banished to the abyss for 1,000 years in the end times. The demons don't die down there, they're imprisoned, prolonging the torture perhaps. Maybe we can see now why they were begging Jesus not to send them there, because they knew that he had the power to. Back in our passage this evening, a large herd of pigs was feeding there on the hillside. The demons begged Jesus to let them go into them, and he gave them permission. Jesus, perhaps seemingly to be letting them off, lightly, accepting their plea to go into the herd of pigs, only to send the herd of pigs rushing down the steep bank and into the lake where they drowned. Jesus here in this short encounter with this crazy man demonstrated clearly the power which he has. But this is a power which can take us out of our comfort zones, isn't it? It's a power which can challenge us, which can convict us, which can transform us. It's the kind of power that can change who we are and what we do. What's our natural reaction to something that appears to have this kind of power? When those tending the pigs saw what had happened, they ran off and reported this to the town and countryside. And the people went out to see what had happened. When they came to Jesus, they found the man from whom the demons had gone out, sitting at Jesus' feet, dressed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. Those who had seen it told the people how the demon-possessed man had been cured. Then all the people of the region of Gerasenes asked Jesus to leave them because they were overcome with fear. They were frightened. They were overcome with fear. They didn't understand what had happened. How was this even possible? You and I understand, I hope. But what about all these people that had never encountered Jesus? How would they react? How would they understand what was happening? As we draw to a close, I just want to go back to the point which I was making at the beginning of this message this evening. The man from whom the demons had gone out begged to go with him, but Jesus sent him away, saying, "Return home and tell how much God has done for you." Go and tell the people, go and show the people who saw who you were, the people who banished you, who abandoned you, go and show them who you are now. Tell them how much God has done for you. Witness to them the love and the grace that's been displayed for you individually by the Lord our God through his perfect Son Jesus. This man was a stained, white, dirty t-shirt, and now he's whiter than white. He was a grubby, fading dinner plate, and now he's sparkling clean. How? Certainly not because he used Daz or the latest finished dishwasher tablet, but because he'd met Jesus, he encountered Jesus, he experienced the power of Jesus. He witnessed to a generation of people here who may have been frightened by what had happened, who may have not believed it or tried to deny it. But how could they when they saw this man, a transformation which is only possible through the intervention of a great and powerful God? It was the personal witness of this man which made the magnitude of what God is able to do real to the lives of others. Let's put that in our own context. It's the personal witness of how Jesus has changed us which should make real to those around us the magnitude of what God is able to do. Those people couldn't argue it, could they? They'd seen the man before, now they were seeing him after. Not long after these events, in chapter 9 of Luke's Gospel, and this is a passage which will be covered in a few weeks' time, Jesus says, "Who do you say that I am?" We see in this short passage that we've explored this evening that Jesus was a man willing to go where his Father sent him, ready to overcome whatever was thrown at him, mighty in power, compassionate, loving, humble. He didn't hang around to try and explain to everyone what he'd done. He didn't show off the power he does. He wasn't bragging. He wasn't boasting. He got into his boat and he left. He left this man to be his witness. He left the man to share the power of Jesus with others. And he's left us to be his witnesses, to share his power with others. It's time for us to cry out and to fall at Jesus' feet. It's time for us to allow Jesus to release us from our demons. It's time for us to allow Jesus to realign our priorities. And it's time for us to recognise the true magnificence of the Father's power. Who is Jesus? Jesus' power, power to overcome, power to heal, power to forgive, power to cleanse. The title of this message I was given this evening is, what is your priority? Our priority is to witness to those we meet the awesomeness of that power. Telling them who we were, showing them who we are now, and telling them